Hi guys, it's me, Arden Lee. I'm just popping on here to make a quick video, and I wanted to give a little example today of the energetics of how you value yourself. This example is going to be financial, um, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about the way we sort of limit our mindsets by how we think other people are going to perceive us. And this example is about my mom, who is so amazing and so talented and so smart. And I'm so grateful we have such an amazing relationship. And I'm so proud of her. In the last couple years, she's retired and she's decided to pursue art as a hobby. And she really just started it to, just really for herself. She takes classes in colored pencils, and she started, making these really beautiful colored pencil drawings, and just framing them and hanging them around the house and everything. And she goes to her classes and she has her friends, and I think it's interesting. It's one of those things where it's like I'm very aware that with my own kind of repatterning of my own value and the way that I value myself and the way that I look at the world, I'm very aware that like being in this energy is like sometimes it's like if I'm so focused on my hammer, then like everything looks like a nail, you know, and that's fine. That's pretty cool, and that's also very normal when we're on a path of personal development. It's like we're like a kid with a new toy. It's like suddenly we're taking the principles that we're applying and integrating into our own lives and seeing where they apply everywhere. And in my mom's case, I think this is kind of cool because. Because even while I absolutely support her if what she wants for herself is just to to make her drawings and just make her drawings in peace and just hang them around the house and whatever, of course I would support that, but my sense is that there's there's an even greater outcome, given that she is retired and she's going to be drawing anyway. I've really been encouraging her to value her work more and to enter it into more, more shows, have it displayed in galleries, and quite possibly start selling it. And and so I wanted to talk a little bit about this sort of mindset shift, giving my mom as an example. And she makes fun of me all the time. She's like, "Oh my God, look at you! You're doing your coaching, you're doing your coaching work." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I love you, you know." And and she's not obligated to listen to me or anything, but if it is something that that makes her feel good and that opens more doors, then I want to facilitate that, because I have a feeling that for women of my mom's generation, I know my mom has told this story a lot, where she's like, yeah, when I graduated high school, basically my options were, secretary school or nursing school. Basically, it was just like, going to college, just wasn't really, it wasn't really something that, that was really on my radar. My mom did end up going to secretarial school, and she was actually ridiculously successful as a secretary. She was the secretary for the World Disarmament Conference in the 1970s at the United Nations. Like, my mom, grew up in New York and like worked as a secretary in this very she was like the secretary of all secretaries, and even throughout the rest of her life, even as she was raising me, she was always the secretary to like that high powered dude who was, typically a straight white cis man who really would not. And she was always joking about how she'd be like, "Oh my God, this guy would not be able to keep his life together if it weren't for me." And she was kind of, she had this pattern of being in this energy where her work was so necessary and so valuable, and she was always on top of everything, but she was really doing it for other people. So when she started doing art for herself, it was really this kind of internal, well, I'm just going to do my kind of thing. And I've been inviting her to explore more possibilities around that. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, and what kind of mindset shift that, that sort of entails. So of course, by the way, before I get super into that story, if you're also interested in doing more like, hi Edgar, if you're also interested in doing some of this work where you really look at your conditioning and how it's kind of kept you into these limiting mindsets, these patterns that get established throughout our lives. I am enrolling for the next course of the Repatterning Project. We start June 30th. There's still a few spots available. I would love to see you there. So do reach out to me, shoot me a PM. We're going to look at everything that causes us to form our patterns and beliefs and mindsets from, our early childhood, our trauma imprints, our formative relationships, our social conditioning, and really get that objective look at them so we can decide, like, hey, is this something that I want? This is something that's been with me for a long time, that maybe this is the only thing I know, and do I still want it anymore? Do I maybe want to make a change instead? So do reach out to me. Also, you can check the description box, because I have a link to a free PDF that'll tell you a little bit more about the course, and also a link to the Repatterning Parlor, which is the free Facebook group that I moderate. So come say hi. We'd love to see you. All right. So I think that covers that. So one of the most formative, not formative, sorry, one of the foremost moments I can point to as an example of energetically how we value ourselves. And this is, this one is specifically financial. I encouraged my mom to submit her art to this show called the Every Woman Biennial, that is run by my amazing friend Eddie Siegel, who is an amazing artist herself, and also a curator. And it's this really amazing art show that features women artists, and it's been written up in the New York Times twice already. I'm so excited and proud for her of how successful it's becoming. And so I encouraged my mom to submit her art to this show, and sure enough, she submitted, and she got in. I was super stoked, and so I went to drop off her drawing today, and there was a little, Eddie says, oh yeah, just fill this out, on your mom's behalf, and make sure all the information here is correct. And my mom had submitted this beautiful colored pencils drawing that she had done, and she valued it at $150 and said it wasn't for sale. And I was like, Mom, if you don't want to sell if you don't want to sell it to begin with, why are you valuing it so low? And I also said, she was like, I don't want to sell it because, it means a lot to me or whatever. I really like it. And I said, well, you made one. How much would it be worth to you to make another one? If someone paid you $1,000 for it, or $2,000 or $3,000, would that be enough money to sit down and make another drawing for yourself? And she was like, oh yeah, but nobody's going to pay that. And I said, says who? Maybe they won't, but then what's the outcome? The outcome is exactly the same. You put it up and you didn't sell it, right? Why are you going to value it so low? $150. I was like, are you kidding? How many hours did this take you? What are you even paying yourself as an hourly rate by saying that this is only worth $150? And I get it. And this is something I think about a lot too. Being in entrepreneurship now means that I really have to think about how I value myself and how I value my time and how I value not only my time, but the results of my work, right? If someone has that drawing on their wall and it brings them joy every single day, how much is that worth to them, right? They get to keep it forever. It's not just about the purchase in that moment. It's about the joy that it brings you, I have art on my walls that I bought years ago that I still love, that I'm so grateful that I bought then, even though it felt expensive at the time, or it felt like, maybe a bit of an indulgent purchase. I have a piece of art that is a signed giclée from Andrew Gonzalez, that's hanging on my wall in my bedroom that I'm pretty sure I spent like maybe about $700 for, which is like, you know, when you're a single woman like living on your own, that's like $700 is nothing to sneeze at. So, but it meant a lot to me, and I'm so glad that I did, because I have it and it brings me joy every day that I look at it. So, which is every day, naturally. So, so I got to the gallery space today in Los Angeles, where I was dropping off my mom's art for her for the show, so it can be hung there. And I texted her and I said, "I'm putting your art up for sale for $1,000. You know, is that worth it to you?" And she was like, well, she goes, "Wow, you have chutzpah." She said, you know, my mom grew up in New York, so chutzpah was a word that was very common in our household. She's like, "Wow, you've got chutzpah." She's like, "Do I have to pay you for being my manager?" I said, "No, you already gave birth to me, so, you know, I figure that probably covers it." And so I just, you know, and I'm talking about this to my friend Eddie, who's curating the show, and she's like, "Oh yeah, if you don't want to sell something, just price it super high, you know, price it at whatever price would actually be worth it to you to sell it." She said, "I have a painting that I've done," she said, "on my mom's wedding dress. I took my mom's wedding dress and I painted on it, and now the dress is this piece of art. It's a dress and it's a painting in one." And she's like, "I priced that at $30,000 because that's how much I would expect for me to give away this piece of art that I created with literally my mom's wedding dress," right? So thinking about this backwards, you know, I want to point out the difference in these two things, you know. One is, I anticipate that nobody is going to value my art, or I don't value my art, you know, in a way that feels sufficient for me to sell it. I think this drawing is worth probably about $150, but I don't want to sell it for that. And then there's this other way of looking at it and saying, like, this is what it's worth to me to sell it. This is what it's, because, man, if it's worth that much to you, why are you, as the creator, who could actually make another one for yourself for free, why would you assume it would not be worth that much to someone who would be purchasing it, who doesn't have the capacity to make it for themselves, who doesn't have that, you know, that same talent or that same eye or that same aesthetic or whatever, you know? So anyway, so my mom agreed. I said, I'm pricing it at $1,000 and I'm putting it up for sale. You know, is it worth it to you? Would you draw another one if you made $1,000 off of it? You know, and she agreed. So, so there's these two different ways of looking at this, right? Because ultimately, you know, hopefully if you've been following my work for a while, you know this already, but for someone to value you more than you value yourself takes an extraordinary, I mean, like, you'd have to literally, like, be your daughter, right? Like, that's me. That's the person that's doing that. If we put something up on a wall and say this is worth $150, you really think how many people are going to come along and say, like, "Oh no, this is actually worth much more"? That's going to be really, really rare. And it's like that in our relationships too, right? So even though this example is financial, we can look at this for relationships too. If I say, I'll accept crumbs from a partner, I'll accept someone who just comes over when they feel like it and, you know, raids my fridge and has sex and then leaves or whatever, do I really think that that's going to attract a partner who's going to responsibly make plans with me and, like, bring me flowers like once a month or whatever, you know? No, of course not. I need to value myself at that level in order to get that kind of person. Now, maybe there are more people who would be likely to buy my mom's art at $150, right? Maybe there would be like 20 people who attend the show who would be like, "Oh, that's worth $150. I would be willing to spend that." Just in the same way that there's probably at least 20 people in my life who would show up and, you know, raid my fridge and have sex with me and then leave, right? But do I want those 20 people? No. Does my mom want those 20 buyers? No. Not if there's one piece of art, right? If it were a print, that'd be one thing. Then, then it's like, that's endless commodities, right? I don't care. I, told my mom, make prints and sell them for $30 a piece if you want. I don't care, because that's something you can, you can do like a print on demand thing. And then that's just extra income that you don't have to work for. But assuming that this is an energetic exchange, like, creating an original piece of art or being in a relationship with someone, set your price high. Set it to what you want. Stop looking to what you think other people are going to think that you're worth, and start saying, no, this is what I'm worth, and this is the only thing that I'm going to settle for. And in the same way that, my mom, pricing her drawing at $1,000, with my encouragement, my friend Eddie pricing her dress at $30,000, and me saying, no, I want to be in a relationship with someone who makes plans with me responsibly and maybe like brings me flowers once a month. It creates this thing where it's like, if I don't get that, then I just, you don't sell the piece. Then you're not in the relationship, and that's fine, which is also why it's important to be able to be alone. One of the really cool things that my mom has going for her is that's actually really an advantage, is that she is retired, and she's not, she's not married to the idea of selling her pieces. She's fine if it doesn't sell. So why not price it high, right? I'm fine, being sexually inactive until the right thing comes along, right? Like, or at least like if someone makes me a counter offer that's like really, really appealing, that would be one thing, right? Some might say like, oh, I can't do maybe I can't do the flowers thing all the time, but like, hey, I'll cook for you, or I don't know, whatever it is, or hey, we'll have this amazing experience together, and we'll do this or that, fine. I hear out counter offers, if it's worth it to me. But that's the thing, is like, you've got to value yourself in the way that it's worth it to you. Saying, my art is $150 and I'm just not going to sell it, is like saying all men are trash, so therefore I'm not going to be in a relationship. It's not going to get you the thing that you actually want. Now, if the thing that you actually want is just to not sell your art and keep devaluing it, or you just don't want to be in a relationship and you want to go on thinking that all men are trash, then, I'd invite you to consider what it is that you really want. But, we live in a free will universe. That's an option. So anyway, stop valuing yourself based on what you think that other people are going to find acceptable, and start valuing yourself on where you feel that transaction is going to be satisfying to you personally. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Reach out to me if you want to join in on the next course of the Repatterning Project starting June 30th. There is an early bird tier through the end of May, so reach out now, because that time is quickly passing, and we will definitely be covering how to better value yourself, so that whether it's in work, in art, in relationships, in friendships, or just in life in general, you can have more of those satisfying exchanges that help you to feel valued and honored, and less of just saying, well, nothing's going to work because the value's low anyway, and I just opt out. Why opt out when you can opt into something that actually makes you feel really cool? So thank you guys. I will see you in the next video.